Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. For today's review, we are going to be talking about Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game, which came out about 2 days ago. Two days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago. And it's quite literally from the moment it came out till I finished it, it's all I've been playing. And the game is wonderful. The game is wonderful. There's so many things going for it that I feel like needs to be praised or celebrated. Or yeah, game's a really good game. I want to say so much, but let's just, you know what, let's start this. Let's get into the review and then you'll hear my thoughts and how the game plays and everything. So, yeah, let's go. So, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is a third person action adventure game developed by Eidos Montreal and published by Square Enix. And it typically follows the general story of the Guardians. You play as Peter Quill, and from what I've come to understand from the devs, is you're playing roughly within the first couple of years of them being a team, and the story really just takes on from there, and then it just becomes this whole new thing. And like I said at the beginning of the video, there's so much to say about it and so much that the game gives you. So I would say let's just get into it.
Peter Quill, wake up.
Holy crap, Drax. You gotta stop doing this, man. It's weird.
We are approaching the quarantine zone.
So to start with the story is very strong because it's as much as it is a save the galaxy situation, it still delves into the personal stories within the characters, which adds or rather which added a wonderful depth to the story. The characters are written very well, inspired by both the comic books and the MCU, which worked obviously in its favor. The jokes didn't always work, but I feel like in the context of how the Guardians as a team are, the joke worked because it was still cringy, it was still lame, but I would say it fit the theme of the game, which was really nice. It was fun all around, digging into the personal stories of each Guardian, which made the story all this sweeter. And even though the story is linear, it is quite very linear. There were a lot of interesting sections in which you, as the player, got to make decisions, either based on what Star-Lord will say or what he would do, and it informed how the characters acted, how certain scenarios played out, and it doesn't affect the story too much, but it still adds a nice layer into what the story is going for. To give an example of what I mean, there is a section where you have to save Cosmo, the psychic dog, and if you made the right choices, you could save him. I'm not saying he dies, but I couldn't save him from the situation that he was in at the point in time, and these are the kind of choices that you get to make as the game progresses. And the choices don't necessarily even have to do with story. Sometimes it just has to do with the way the conversation goes between the characters. And as I said, it adds a nice little layer into the interaction between Peter, between Drax, between Gamora, between Rocket, and between Groot. And it's this kind of little things that make the whole story of the game wonderful. The game is not, it's not a short game, but I would not say it's a long game either. I played the entire of the game within 3 days, and one of the days I wasn't even home because I had to go out for a bit. But that is roughly how long the game is. The game is pretty straightforward, it's pretty standard, but there's so much that happens in the game, so much story that you're given, so much character building, so much character interactions. There are little bits where you can find certain objects which belong to certain characters, and it expands a bit more on their lore, on the things they believe in, on the things that define their character. And it just, as I said, it makes you connect to the characters a lot more, and because you connect to the characters, the story becomes a lot more full, a lot more rewarding, a lot more satisfying. And this is just one of the many things about the game that just work. But yeah, this is story wise brilliant stuff. To get back into the world now, like I said, the story is relatively linear, so it jumps between worlds as the story unfolds. Each world you visit, as per how the story goes, each world you visit is unique, even though the sections are relatively small and limited. But even then, when you see what the background has, like just the general map design, general world design, everything looks wonderful, everything looks good, everything looks clean, and the scale of it is just, you can get lost just admiring what they've built. And that's just one of the many things I love about the game. Like, there were sections where I just stopped and just took in the world design. I mean, yes, I could not, obviously it's not open world, it's a linear game. Yes, I couldn't explore the extent of what the world had, but it was just done so well that I could almost imagine an open world story. Not that I want one, but that is how good the map designs were. Like most games, there are things to find in the world, things to see when you explore, even though it's limited. It's not so much limited as in narrow, but limited as in you got like set pieces and you got set areas which are slightly larger, which you can obviously explore, look around, find little things to do, find little things to obviously collect, as per most games go. And sorry, excuse me. And when you do explore, when you do find these things, you find outfits, you find little scraps which you can use to upgrade your gear where you're fighting. And there is no trace, and I mean when I say this, there is no trace of microtransactions anywhere. Now this sounds like something to be celebrated, but it really should be the minimum standard. There is no microtransaction and you don't have to spend any money apart from the money you've spent to buy the game, which is really nice, and it is something that I'm really happy about, especially in a single player game, because you know how these companies get. You can find a lot of outfits if you explore, a lot of things. Obviously you have to get the right upgrades for your weapons to explore, but it's just really nice. I don't have all the outfits yet, but from the ones I've gotten, I believe there is one MCU skin for all of them. I believe so, but at least I got one for Drax. I'm expecting there should be one for everyone else. But a lot of skins, and the best part of the outfits, I call them skins, I don't know, I call them skins. The best part of the outfits is it informs you the first time they wore the outfit, what comic book issue it was, or the movie it came from, which is really nice. And you get to see the wealth and breadth, I guess, of all the costumes or all the outfits that the Guardians have gotten and worn through that comic run, which is really nice. It's really wonderful, and I really love that. And the fact that the world could give you the small things and you didn't have to go outside to get them or get the next edition or anything of that nature, which is really good. So yeah, now to talk about gameplay. This is possibly the weakest bit of the review, and I want to be clear about this. The gameplay of Guardians is not bad. By all counts, it's actually pretty good. The only thing is that it is different and it feels different, and it can possibly turn you off the game. So you control, like I said at the beginning, you control Star-Lord and only him through the whole game. You don't get to change who you're controlling. He's going to be him. He is quite literally the only person you control. But you get to use your team in tactical situations, so you can tell your team to do certain things while you're obviously fighting around Star-Lord. For example, you can command Gamora to use her swords on a group of enemies, or even drop a box on your enemies. And this is the same idea with Groot, with Drax, with Rocket. Groot can restrain enemies, Drax can tank damage or stun enemies, which is really nice. Rocket has different kind of explosives, which are really good for quick damage and, you know, quick area of effect damage, and it's really nice. And once you get into the swing of battle, once things start going on and you start making commands on the go, you start making quite a lot of combos, which actually end up being really nice. But this is the important thing here, right? The combat is not game changing. It does feel different based on how Star-Lord fights, but once you get past our hurdle, things start to feel smooth. As the game goes, you unlock elemental modes for your guns, which help both in battle, such as stunning enemies, or outside, such as figuring out puzzles and getting through the game. You also level up during battles based on how the team fights, and the more you level up, the more you can unlock skills for yourself and for the rest of your team. And everyone in your team, including you, has a last skill which is intentionally locked. So that last skill you can't really unlock, but it is based on how far you are in the game, because something happens in the story for each of the characters which unlocks the skill. And the thing that happens, which now goes back to the point about the story, the thing that happens for the characters that allow you to unlock this skill set feels so earned, and so it feels worth it. And I can't stress about how this game is. This is how good the story is, and how everything just fits in such a way that elevates the game. And honestly, the game is wonderful. The game is wonderful. To summarize, all in all, it's a brilliantly wonderful game with so much in it that is so endearing. The characters are well written, the story is very strong, touches on a lot of emotional beats, and the payoff is very, very satisfying. I've tried not to spoil the story to the best of my ability, but I would say that if you ever got a chance to play the game, you definitely should. That's just how good the game is. The game has a lot of interesting things, a lot of interesting dialogue, a lot of interesting choices, a lot of interesting twists and turns, and by the end of it, you can't help but feel like you've played a really wonderful game. And yeah, it's great stuff. Great stuff. So yeah, those are the general thoughts I have on the game. The story, the world, the gameplay. Story was great. World was great. Gameplay was not bad. I enjoyed it. As I said, it's not bad gameplay. Could have been smoother. Could have gone better. But on the whole, I think the game is excellent. I think the game deserves to be played. I think the game deserves. I won't say it deserves a sequel, but it'd be nice to see if they were to do a sequel. It'd be nice to know where they take it and see if they increase the number of guardians you can, maybe you can swap out guardians and whatnot. But I don't know, doesn't really matter. But yeah, if you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It would be wonderful to do good for the channel, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for being here.